I'm Ernie Shimizi, and welcome to the world-famous New York Friars Club. Today we're here because it's the site of the second annual Friars Club Comedy Festival. So stay with us. We've got a lot in store for you here from the world-famous New York Friars Club. We're at the Friars Club second annual comedy festival, and I'm with Sue-Constantine.
Yes.
And Sue is a young member here at the Friars Club, but you have some awesome responsibilities here.
I do. I'm the communications director for the festival, and I also help to put together the panels. And basically, I was also a senior programmer, so my thumb is in the festival, but a lot of people's thumbs are in the festival, helping to make it the great success that it is.
Young member of this prestigious Friars Club. Can we talk a little bit about that from your point of view?
Oh my gosh, I remember when I first heard of the Friars Club. At that time, I thought it was an all-male organization, which it wasn't. But I remember I said to my best friend, I'm going to be in that one day. Because I thought it was still all-male. Like, I'm going to be in it. And so it's so cool to actually be here. I think I was like 9 at the time when I said that. So it's so cool, you know, years later to actually have that be true. When do you ever say something when you're 9 that becomes true?
And what was your concept of the Friars Club before
I had heard
becoming?
of the roasts, and obviously, who doesn't know Frank Sinatra? And I had just heard that they were the funniest people to come into a room together and to have an organization. And so my family is big on humor. Humor has been, I think since I was born, big on humor my whole life. So it was, of course, something I wanted to be a part of.
And the feeling that this is an all-inclusive club.
It is.
This isn't a club where people are denied access. If you have talent, if you could make people laugh, if you can sing a song, if you're a professional, a creative, if you're in the news business or whatever, you have a place in this club.
Yes. Everyone has been so kind. When you first join a club that has 1,200 members, it's a little intimidating to meet new people. There's so many. Everyone has been so kind and so warm and so supportive. It really is a wonderful network to be a part of.
Comedy. Comedy is king here at the Friars Club.
Yes.
And you're an important part of that with this comedy festival. Can we talk about the festival?
Yes, the festival is, we have films from all over the world here. We have over 50 films. The festival this year is over a week long. It began on Thursday with the opening of Terry Bin Laden, and it ends with the roast of Quentin Tarantino, which I'm very excited about. And in between, we have panels, panel discussions. We have short films, feature films, some after parties with the filmmakers, opportunities for people who are doing comedy across the country and across the globe to meet each other, to talk about what they're doing, how they're doing it. Some of the great tips we had in the panels today, I know some other filmmakers are going to take home, tips about financing, tips about how do you best use your resources, how to be your own self-sufficient man, all these tips that you couldn't have if you didn't have a festival like this bringing everyone together. And it's been so wonderful just to share even different senses of humor. The sense of humor that's in the Danish movie versus S&M Lawn Care, which is from Oklahoma. So it's just been really cool to see the diversity.
It's an annual event here at the Friars Club, but you work on it all year long.
Yes.
To make that happen. You're working with Charlie Prince.
Yes, Charlie Prince and Eric Johnson. They are powerhouses, such hard workers, such wonderful guys. We've been working on it year-round, and so you know we'll hear about films in other festivals. We'll check those out. We have a submission process that has been open, I think, at least 6 months, and so we review all the films, the hundreds of films that come in, and just really also see what comedy is going on the internet. Who do we want to reach out to? Who do we want to invite? For example, the HTC Evo iPhone short that we had that opened up for opening night. We heard about that. Of course, we had to have that filmmaker come down here. You know, this year's theme is in defense of comedy. So what we believe is people, no topic should be off limits. However, this is comedy, it's an art form, and we want to, and however, it's up to you and your own personal taste to decide what you want to watch, but this festival is to celebrate that.
Website for the festival.
www.friersclub.com/filmfestival.
Well, this is so cool. Sue-Constantine, what you're doing, what you've brought to the club. Could we talk a little bit about yourself also? When you're not involved in this, are you active in the entertainment field?
Yes, actually, I am an improviser, and sketch comedy are my other loves. So that's what I'm doing when I'm not running something. I'm the executive director of the Friars Improv and Sketch Competition, and so that's sort of my my love letter, or my love project for improv and sketch, to show the world how great I think it is, and the great works that can come out of it.
You're a person of many talents. Like Lucille Ball and all of those great comedians that have come before you here at the Friars Club would be very happy to know that
Thank you so
Sue
much.
is on the scene right now.
You're so kind.
All the best to you, Sue. Well, how appropriate. We're here at the Friars Club in the Joey Louis bar area with these two handsome gentlemen who are with the Harvard sailing team. How about that? I didn't know that Harvard had a sailing team.
Yeah,
but
neither did we. Yeah, we had no idea.
and you're enjoying that great cupcake.
I'm trying. Yeah, I'm unwrapping it. Please don't think I'm rude, but I'm just.
No,
looks
this
delicious.
isn't. He's not rude. That's Adam, and this is Clayton.
Yes.
Tell us about the Harvard sailing team and your involvement here at the Comedy Festival.
We are a 9-person sketch comedy troupe. We perform weekly at the People's Improv Theater. We've been doing it for about 6 years. And we won the Frisk competition, which is the Friars Club Improv and Sketch competition. We won $10,000 to make a short film, which is premiering tonight.
Wow, $10,000.
Yeah.
Now we're cooking.
Yeah, we're cooking with gas.
So tell us a little bit about improv and what you guys are doing with all that.
Well, we studied acting at NYU, and we do sketch comedy. We have a weekly show, like Clayton said, at the People's Improv Theater.
So no improv.
Yeah, there's a little bit of improv within the sketches and things like that. But yeah, we won this sweet competition, and they gave us 10 grand, which is their fault, and they gave it to us, and we made this. It's about 16-minute short. That's going to be premiering in the short film section of the festival tonight, over at the Paley Center. And it's great. I mean, it's been a trip. You know, they invited us here after to the Friars Club after the competition, and we sort of got to hobnob over here at the fancy bar and everything.
Yeah.
It was great.
This is the Friars
That's what I'm
Club,
saying.
the citadel of comedy,
It sure
whatever
is,
that
yeah.
means. Well, more people have died here than got laughs. But for you guys to be involved now in sketch comedy and improv, that's always been the cutting edge
Yeah.
of comedy.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. It seems that the scene in New York, we're at a particularly burgeoning time also, because both of the two main theaters in New York are the Upright Citizens Brigade, the UCB, and the Pit. And both theaters are actually expanding over the winter time. The Pit is moving to a much bigger theater over on 24th on the east side in like January, and the UCB is opening a whole nother space entirely in the East Village. So it really seems like the scene is really booming right now, which is cool, and it feels nice to be a part of that. And it feels there's a lot of kinetic energy, and everyone seems to be hustling and doing the same thing. It feels
So
good.
now you guys have been encouraged. You know, you just won $10,000.
Yeah.
So
Right.
now this seems like something you should do. I think that the signs are there that improv and what you guys are up to.
I mean, we want to. We want to get more than $10,000 as our next goal.
Right.
From anyone who's willing to give us more than $10,000.
You're going to have to go to the Harvard Club for that. No,
What's happened to that
The
Hamptons
alumni,
money? That's the thing.
All right, maybe the Hamptons Club. You're right.
Exactly.
I'll introduce you to some
Please
of the
do,
members.
if you don't mind. Yeah.
But, you know, I don't know what sort of sense of humor they have. But has humor changed? I mean, you guys are young, out of NYU.
Mm-hmm.
You started this. You know, when we think of improv, we think of all those great improv groups from the 50s and the 60s.
Right.
But I don't know if that stuff would fly today, a guy like talking into a telephone. You know, if
Yeah.
that sort of...
Right.
Nowadays, to reach your market and your age group and that demographic, it takes a different meaning, doesn't it?
I think it's today it's a lot more topical. It's very fast. You know, stuff like Facebook and Twitter, and the attention spans get shorter and shorter, and people want something that's big and relatable immediately, or they're done. So it's kind of tapping into that, I think.
And there's an absurdity also that I think
Yeah.
over time the collective sense of humor has changed a bit. And whereas in, say, the 1950s or 1960s, it would be like, you know, Jack Parr's talk show would be like a talk show. Now, for a talk show like that to be popular with people of our age group, it has to be like an ironic, absurd take on the talk show. Like Zach Galifianakis is a very popular comedian who has a series on the internet called Between Two Ferns, which is like a badly executed talk show. So it's that sort of spin on the classic format of.
It's not enough just to comment on it. You have to have your own kind of weird twists too.
Weird twist. Speaking of that, how could our weird audience get in touch with you guys?
We have a website, www.harvardsailingteam.com. You can go on there, check out a lot of our videos. There's press, there's images, there's a mailing list and a website address that you can email us at, and we'd love to talk to you.
Is that it? Okay. But, I love this. You're both from NYU, and it's Harvard Sailing Team. So what more could we say? Here at the Friars Club second annual comedy festival, and I'm with Alex. And Alex, you're part of this comedy world. You break me up just talking to you.
Oh, thank you so much. I don't feel like I'm that funny right now, but I appreciate it.
No, but very intelligent and very funny and very creative. And you direct, you act. Talk a little bit about yourself and what brings you here to the comedy festival.
Yeah, I do a couple of different things in comedy. The main thing, and the way that I know the guys in College Humor and the Friars Club, is I'm part of a group called Elephant Larry, 5 guys. We've been together about almost a decade now, doing sketch comedy. We write, we act, we produce, we direct, we do everything. We do stuff for the web, we do stuff live. We're doing a show tonight at Joe's Pub, which is why we're not going to be here at the Friars Club. But do a lot of stuff around like that. I also am the executive producer of Fest Nyc, which is an annual sketch comedy festival that happens here in New York City, brings groups from all over North America together to perform over one weekend.
Comedy, it's a calling, isn't it? You knew from the start that this is what you want to do.
Well, actually, first I wanted to be a doctor. I wanted to be a doctor, and I got into theater, and I did theater for about 2 years before I decided, you know what, this is what I want to do. I don't want to be a doctor, and I was so scared to tell my parents that I wanted to do comedy. So I sat them down at dinner and I said, listen, Mom, Dad, there's something I need to tell you. I'm gay. And they were totally shocked, and I said, no, I'm kidding, but I actually don't want to be a doctor. I want to do theater. And they were like, oh, that's fine. Why didn't you just tell us that in the first place?
Now that is hilarious. You sat your parents down and you send them off into another direction. Then you reel them back in. That's comedy. That's real good. So you've been doing this a lot. You've been torturing your parents for years, I could see.
Well, they're both in the arts themselves, so they're totally supportive of it, and they love that I do comedy. But yeah, I've been doing it for over a decade now, working in the city, doing sketch comedy, doing producing, writing, acting.
Is it harder to get a laugh with young people these days?
Humor types change, I think, over time. Humor is different now than it was 10 years ago. The comedy scene in New York is entirely different now than it was back then. There's different theaters, different actors, different people, but there's different types of humor as well. So I think what you need to do as a comedian is evolve your style of humor to meet the times, rather than saying, well, this is how I do it, so this is how it's done.
Interesting. Do you have a website so that our viewers out there can be more plugged into the world of Alex?
Yeah, absolutely. You can check out elephantlarry.com, or I have my personal website, alexzalbin.com. Sam, you and I were actually on a panel here at the Friars Club a year ago, and you were talking about how you believe that web video should be a certain length. I think you said that there's no reason to keep it longer than 5 or 6 minutes or so, that other than that it's just going too long.
I would take that down now. Take that number down.
That's what I was actually going to address, is we're seeing, I think, it going not necessarily across the board, but we're seeing a funnier guy just put out a 17-minute video, which seems to do very well. YouTube is offering rentals now for longer programs as well. Is that a place that it's going to go, or you think it's still shorter?
I would be interested to hear your guys' opinions about this. I mean, the thing I notice, right, is that, because this is a conversation in web video land, is are people's attention spans getting shorter or longer? And I think the answer is both. I mean, we now see you know, for the first time, something like Dr. Horrible comes online, the Neil Patrick Harris piece. And it's 11 minutes per episode, and everybody's watching it. At the same time as we see stuff like a 1 minute per episode series get extraordinary amount of attention because it's so short and bite size. And I think all that says is that the audience for this stuff is expanding. You know, and everybody has different needs that they want to fulfill. Yeah.
Yeah, I think very gradually it is heading in the direction of longer form stuff. It's just a question of people getting used to it. I would think of like, I think when movies first started, they were relatively short, you know, or were comic strips before there were comic books. So like, it's just a question of absorbing, getting used to it.
Here at the Friars Club, we just had a great symposium. Is that a good word for this to describe? And you guys said something that totally blew my aging mind here, because I'm out of the TV business. We're in a whole different mindset. And it's collegehumor.com. And we're a TV station here in New York with WVVH, Channel 14, shameless promotion. But what you guys are up to and what you're doing is something that the world needs to know about, the rest of the world, besides those people who are clued into your highly successful site. Can we talk a little bit about collegehumor.com and what you guys are all about?
So College Humor is a website. It's been around for over 10 years now, but it's still growing, and we make funny stuff for the internet. It's that easy. It's that easy.
It's that easy.
We figure out what people like, and then we make funny stuff about it. We do written funny stuff. We film funny stuff. We have pictures. Just there's something for everyone of all reading levels.
Every medium there is.
Great.
Pictures,
great.
poetry.
So this is
books.
traditional television. You know, right, guys? This is guy with a suit, microphone, the whole bit.
I'm wearing a jacket.
No, I know. You guys are all handsome.
Only because they made you.
But you guys are blowing the traditions away by what you're doing.
It is kind of fun that we don't have to ask permission for what we're doing. I mean, it's kind of a closed loop. We say, hey, should we do this? Yeah, let's do it. Like, we don't have to go to a network executive. We don't have to go to we don't have to go to a film studio and say, hey, give us money to do this. We are lucky to exist in a world where we are the creators and kind of the studio at the same time.
What brought you guys together? I mean, you film school, or you were hanging out on a corner somewhere?
The magic of being hired.
Magic. That's true, that paycheck. But it's amazing the creativity that you have to bring, because it's just as, I think it's harder to create 2 minutes of provocative and funny than if you have a whole half hour with a laugh track.
Yes, in a lot of ways it is, absolutely. You know, you have to be very careful about the jokes that you put in, and you have to make sure that they all hit, as Sam was saying in the symposium. It can't be a video that leads up to one punchline at the end. It has to be jokes all along. So yes, and from a post-production standpoint, which is where I come from, the editing has to be much tighter. Everything's much faster, and in a lot of ways, you have to sort of fight the instincts that you learned in film school on what good editing is, and just cut things much tighter.
Yeah, absolutely. You have to have develop the same kind of impatience as a creative that your audience has on the internet.
Well, for our part, we're very impressed. Speaking for traditional television media and the Paley Center and all this other sort of stuff, what you guys are doing is knocking the socks off of the establishment of television. Question is, do you make money with it? I know that's something, and you are.
Well, yeah. Well, the site is.
You'd like to make more. We all want to make more.
Always. No, but we're doing pretty well.
Yeah. But we're all, at the end of the day, we're still employees. I mean, we work for a company, so we, we feel a little spoiled. We feel like we're kind of getting away with something by getting to make comedy that we like.
Yeah.
But you have a company that's willing to give you guys the license to go out there and come up with something that comes out of your own brain and not out of the Lucille Ball book of, not to knock Lucille Ball, but we're not talking pies in the face. Or are there any sketches with pies in the face?
I'm sure we pied someone.
We have a series called What Will Kevin Do for Money? And I think one of those stunts was getting pies in the face, right?
Yeah, I think that's right. Yeah.
All right, so the site is College Humor.
Pies in the face will transcend all mediums forever.
It'll always be part of comedy. collegehumor.com. Congratulations for being here at the Friars Club and this great comedy festival. And we invite all of our viewers to check out what these guys are all about. This is what your kids and your whatever are watching. So continued success. I'm with Jeffrey Gurian. And Jeffrey, you're a name in this business, and congratulations, all the success.
Thank you so much.
This is a great event, isn't it?
It's a fantastic event, and it's just so nice because a lot of young people are getting a chance to experience the Friars Club, the legendary Friars Club, and the Friars Club is getting a chance to experience a lot of these young comics and writers who ordinarily might not be here.
And they're also having an opportunity to meet experienced individuals like yourself. You're an author, you're a producer. I know you have a film that will be premiering here at the Comedy Festival.
Exactly. It's called Eat, Drink, Laugh, and it's the history of the legendary comedy club, the comic strip. Chris Rock is the exec producer, and I'm co-producing with the owner of the comic strip, Richie Tinkin, and Bob Wax, who opened that club on June 1st of 1976. And on June 17th of 76, Jerry Seinfeld walked into audition. And the rest was history, basically. Jerry went on to become a huge star, as everybody knows. Paul Reiser, George Wallace, Eddie Murphy, who they managed for 11 years. Eddie Murphy discovered Chris Rock on stage at the comic strip in 1986. Just on, and all of those people are in the book that I'm doing and this documentary film. So we're showing the trailer Monday and Wednesday. We're actually getting 2 showings. They're showing it on the evening, the closing evening of the festival, which is a really important time, and again on first they're showing it Monday, and then again on Wednesday.
The Friars Club, this is the place for comedians through the ages, but now it's the place for comedians who are now part of this social media, internet, and all the rest of it.
Mm-hmm.
You've been actively involved in that.
I've been actively involved. Not only that, Milton Berle was actually my sponsor in the Friars Club. We're in the Milton Berle room here, and that was a great honor to me. In all the years that I knew Milton, I could never actually believe it when I'd be on the phone with him. I'm like, I'm on the phone with Milton Berle. That doesn't just happen, you know? I actually wrote jokes for him. I had written for many years for the Friars Roast. But the Friars Club has always been open to new ideas and new talent. And we welcome all these young guys. You know, like today we just had College Humor here. And a lot of people in the Friars Club may not be familiar with them. I happen to be because I'm involved in all that new media stuff, Twitter and Facebook. And, you know, these days, believe it or not, in order to get a deal done, you have to show a publisher that you have exposure on those sites.
Those sites and the hits and the different impressions that one gets. But how do you keep it funny?
That's a gift. That's something that no one can really, it's like, how do you write songs? You keep it funny because funny is always funny. You know, the kids these days, they know the old comics, they know the old shows, they still laugh at Laurel and Hardy. Although what's funny is that if Laurel and Hardy went into an agent's office today, they couldn't get a deal. You know, or the Marx Brothers. You can't picture 4 guys going in and trying to get a deal. Although their films will always be funny, they're classics, but comedy has changed so much over the years. It's just a whole different thing.
So tell us a little bit about what you're doing. Are you touring? Are you appearing? Are you writing, of course?
I'm writing a lot. My major thing is this book on the comic strip and the film. But I'm also making appearances. On October 2nd, I'm appearing at Caroline's to talk about, to help new people get into the field, to tell them what it's been like as a comedy writer. And then I'm hosting an evening. Last February, I produced my first big show at Westbury. I produced Kevin Hart in a fundraiser for Haiti. It was Kevin Hart and Tony Rock, Chris Rock's brother, and a very funny Haitian comedian. We actually found a Haitian comedian, and his name is Will Sylvince, and he's phenomenal. We had a sold-out show. 3,000 people showed up at Westbury. So I want to do more of that. I definitely want to produce more. I produced a show with Goomba Johnny, who you probably know,
of course,
from WKTU, and brought out a bunch of comics to the old Westbury Country Club. Had an amazing show there. Ted Alexandro, who you'll see on all the late-night shows, and John Fish, another guy you see all over the place. And why am I blocking on the other guy? Oh, and Maceo from the Chappelle Show.
Yes, of course.
Which was a great show. So I'm getting more into producing these days, and I have just a lot of projects. I can't even think of them all, but I'm quite busy.
Well, Jeffrey Gurian is the man, the name, and continued success. What you're doing, you mentioned Milton Berle, and we are here in the Friars Club of New York, which, if not for Milton, he bought this building.
Yeah, he actually did and gave it to the club, right?
And gave it to the club.
Right,
Could you imagine what a gift that was?
Unbelievable. It was unbelievable. He originally found it for his wife, and she didn't want it. But he told me this great story once. He was in Paris, and he bought a tiara for his wife, and it was $200,000. And when he gave it to her, she decided that she didn't want it, and she ran back to Van Cleef & Arpels in her bathrobe. She wanted to get there before the store closed, and she was knocking on the window, and they thought she was like a homeless woman in her bathrobe. And when they opened the store, she showed them the tiara, and she said she wanted to return it. And they said, "Why?" And she said, "Because I have one just like it."
Well, Milton was proud of you, is proud of you. The tradition continues.
Thank you.
We had the pleasure of seeing him at a number of Friars roasts, and towards the end of his life, age and everything. But the moment those lights turned on and he was on stage,
He was 70 again.
he was 70 again.
He was amazing. Yeah, those lights invigorated him. He was just an incredible guy, and he was the best roast master I think that there ever was.
He invented
He truly
it.
was. He invented the roast. When he told Youngman, "Nice suit, Youngman, who shines it for you?" It doesn't get better than that.
Great. I just met Felina, and Felina, congratulations, you're in this new film. Could we talk a little bit about it?
Sure. I am in the new Clint Eastwood, Steven Spielberg thriller Hereafter, and it was one of the most amazing experiences I've ever had working with Clint Eastwood. I have to say my part's a little bit small, but in any capacity, it was just a wonderful experience to get to work with such a great director as that.
Congratulations, you're a working actress. Have you been in other films?
Yes, actually. I've been in a few. I was just in the new Peter Berg movie Battleship. They're shooting it in Honolulu, Hawaii right now. A wonderful place to be shooting. And I was in The Descendants with George Clooney, which was also shot in the Hawaiian Islands. And I'm in the new Adam Sandler, Nicole Kidman, Jennifer Aniston film, Just Go With It, which should be out in February. I think they're doing it around February 12th.
Felina, this sounds like a booming career, from shooting in Hawaii to being with George Clooney and all the rest. Fantastic. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, actually, I am a jewelry designer. I started out as a jewelry designer. I did Star Wars Revenge of the Sith, and I donated all my jewelry to Artists for New South Africa, and I started becoming a celebrity jewelry designer and got really well known throughout the industry. And I continue to make jewelry for women as well as men, and I'm bringing something to Jerry here tonight.
And now you're in front of the camera, too. So designing jewelry to being an actress in film.
Yes. Actually, I had a lot of help from many different friends that helped me to start produce films and start acting in films, and definitely had to take a lot of classes after that. So I've learned a lot, and I continue to learn, and I always want to be better than I am. I'm a sponge. I just want to absorb more.
Thanks for sharing that story. So if you see that new film, the new Clint Eastwood film, let's plug it again.
Hereafter, I am a tsunami survivor, so I will be very muddy and bloody.
Okay. Watch out for her. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. It was wonderful to meet you. Thank you so much.
Here at the Friars Club, we're joined by Sean Roman, new young face, young handsome gentleman who's a filmmaker, part of this comedy festival, attending the seminars. Good to meet you.
Nice to meet you. I'm from Queens County, New York City, and so far in the last couple of years I've made 2 films. One is a feature film about 62 minutes about ticket cops, those agents we all love to hate who give out traffic tickets. So it's a mythical journey of some of these guys in Queens County as they run around giving tickets, and really they're not great workers, so instead of giving tickets they do bizarre things, like they challenge pedestrians to contests so they could get out of the ticket. And my second film is called The Great Coney Island Egg Toss. Down on the 4th of July, everybody's familiar with the hot dog eating contest.
Sure.
But just a few, maybe in that area right between Brighton Beach and Coney Island, the rough and tumble handball players who've been playing there for decades, they host a traditional child's egg toss. So this is the most unique egg toss in America, and I captured it July 4th, 2010. It's an 11-minute short documentary, and I can't wait to screen this. I hopefully get to screen it at either the Hamptons Film Festival or next year's Friars Club Film Festival.
comedy is your life. I
Oh,
can see.
I love comedy. I love getting on the air. I love explaining things to people, making people laugh, bringing passion and energy to any topic. You could hear me on Sirius Radio, The Covino and Rich Show. I'm on there basically every week.
Oh, is that right?
Yes, yes.
So when did you know that this was where you wanted to be and creating these films and all the rest that you've been doing?
My main motivation is when I was in college. I went to Manhattan College. I was in the communications program, and I was fortunate enough to get an intern with the world-famous Howard Stern Show. At the time, we were given booklets which had rated every internship by stars in terms of availability. And getting an internship at the Howard Stern Show was 5 stars, the hardest level of internship to get in. It was right on par with getting an internship at the White House. And I think around that time, Monica Lewinsky may have been a White House intern.
Absolutely. That's a whole other story. So that's cool. So you were part of the Howard Stern Show.
I was. And then I worked at the old K-Rock, which now has changed format for about 4 or 5 years. So I worked at one of the most exciting environments in New York City radio, you know, right on a great modern rock station with some of the best names in the business as far as programming goes.
So, wow. So from working with Howard, what was that like for a young person from Manhattan College?
Oh, that was a phenomenal experience. If you're coming to the city on your own daily for the first time and going into an exciting environment about that, and you see all, I remember the first celebrity I've ever seen just walk by me was Slash from Guns N' Roses, and he was talking about how tough the interview was. And I'm there, it was just so exciting because I love that band, trying to play it cool, not really rock the boat, but just listening in onto the conversation. And then every day after that, it was someone else, whether it was Pamela Anderson, a great comic, the people who come here like Richard Lewis. You know, you get to see and talk to those people and BS with them. And the funniest one maybe was Guilford Gottfried, who's always here, because he wouldn't do the Guilford Gottfried voice off the air. He would do the very sullen Gilbert Gottfried voice. So that was funny to see some of the performers out of their element.
I think you were born for this. It's destiny is on your side. Someday people are going to be saying, you know, I'm working for interning for Sean Roman. Sean, continued success. How could our viewers plug in? Do you have like a website or something?
They could see previews of my 2 films. They could go on IMDb and they could just type in Ticket Cops. That's 2 words. I got trailers, I got interviews, I got featurettes. I was on the Vinnie Vella show, which is on public access over here. I'm good friends with him. Was a guest on his show a few weeks ago promoting it. And they could also just type in on IMDb. They could type in Great Coney Island Egg Toss. I'm the only person who's ever came up with that title and will be the only person who ever comes up with anything like that. And they could also email me, SeanTheDirector@gmail.com, SEAN.
Okay, continued success. Make it happen.
Thank you.